Welcome from the break. This is The Dialogue, the show where we look at the major events of the week. And on the show this morning, Dr. Sylvia Namwiru Mukasa, a lawyer, but also the executive director, CEO, is the chief executive officer for LASPNet, Legal Aids Suppliers Network.
Service Providers Network. That thing disturbs. You call it LASPNet in simplistic.
No, LASPNet might even be more difficult.
In the studios, but also we have Dr. Gerard Wanzala. Richard, you should consider also.
This is the real challenge.
You should consider.
Called doctor.
Yeah.
He's a professor. By virtue of his
so many things.
Yes. Wanzala is a public policy researcher, but also an associate lecturer at Uganda Management Institute. We, of course, have Richard Baguma, a health communicator, a strong advocate for proper nutrition. And this week we had the World Food Day. He missed out on that serious and crucial comment on nutrition. It's one of those key issues that stand out during commemoration of the World Food Day. Food insecurity, but also the nutrient value in the foods we eat. We were looking in the first hour at the arraignment and the jailing of the former KCCA bosses in relation to the Chitezi landfill tragedy, in which more than 35 people lost lives. But you can keep sending in those comments and observations, but we'll quickly be looking at another issue relating to justice. Opposition members have been in jail for more than 4 years, but eventually this week they made a turnaround from the previous player of innocence to guilty. And what does that mean? But before we do that, let me get a quick report from Kasese. We have been informed the Omusinga of Rwenzururu and his people are convening for the 58th coronation of their king, Omusinga Wezire Mumbere. It's not a coronation. It's 50 years of the kingdom of the Rwenzururu kingdom. Tumwebaze and Gerard Tumusime are on standby. But let me hear from Gerard Tumusime. Tell us what we should expect and what's the mood today in Kasese as you prepare to celebrate the 58th. Is it the anniversary of the kingdom? What is it?
Okay, thank you so much. Mine is golf course here in Kasese district, Kasese municipality. So here we are seeing a lot of people arriving here and you can see behind me this is the tent where the king will be sitting with his family. I can confirm to you about this. Also the Vice Chancellor Makerere University is also here, and I can confirm to you all the political leaders, I mean the MPs, the LC5, the mayor Kasese municipality, all of them, they are around here. So we will be live streaming from here at Lembe main golf course. So Apollo Tusime, I have Tumweba the God here with me. He will also give us some brief on his side B. From me, I'm on side A. Tumweba is on side B. So I'm connecting to Godfrey Tumweba also to give us on his side B what he has.
Okay, thank you so much, Tusime Geladi, Apollo Tusime, and our viewers. We are coming to you live
from Gulf Coast, Kasese, where we have 58th coronation of Obusinga by Rwenzururu, headed by Charles Wesley Mumbele. And this is the situation where we are. Behind me, these are the MCs of the event, but of course we have also the residents who have just come to show up. With me, I have the RDC. We are live on Soul TV. We are live on Soul TV. Just simply tell us how is the situation, how is the security as we celebrate the 58th coronation of Obusinga wa Rwenzururu.
People are ready to receive their king and celebrate their day. There's nothing much I can add on that because those who left us can bear us witness to our peace in Kasese.
Tell us your names. Sami, I know, but our viewers.
My name is Lieutenant Olusejo. Is a Lieutenant RDC Kasese.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. So, Apollo, we shall be bringing the event live after the show. We are on the ground to make sure that we give you every update or anything that happens. My name is Godfrey Mebaze. I have Edin Sunga. I have Peter Munyas. I have Tusime Gerard. Let me come back to the studio as we also stay around to make sure that we give you all the updates.
Thank you, Godfrey. Thank you, Gerard. And they are at Golf Course in Kasese, where Salt TV will be relaying the event live as the Rwenzururu, our colleagues and our brothers and sisters in Rwenzururu celebrate 50 years of establishment of their kingdom. Well, let's come back to the studio and look at this particular issue. And I'll start with you, Dr. Sylvia. Let me first pick your opinion on the plea of guilty.
The plea of guilty.
Plea of guilty. What does it reflect in a case? Is it an admission of innocence? No, an admission of guilt. And in this case, if we are talking about charges of terrorism, those are serious charges, and
possession of firearms.
Exactly. Quickly, what do you think about this whole thing?
Okay. Yeah, you've asked me to explain more about the plea of guilty. Yeah, we have two different pleas: plea of guilty and plea of not guilty. But also in criminal procedures, they have introduced what we call plea bargaining, which leads to some kind of negotiations for the outcome to be more in favor of the accused person. So a plea of guilty is usually when you are lined before court, they read the charges to you. It is assumed that whoever appears before the court should have a right to a lawyer and to legal representation, to tell you the consequences and to listen more into your matter and to advise you appropriately. So when you plead guilty, it means you have accepted the whole charge and all its entirety and all the background and every ingredient concerning that matter, that you indeed are liable. You committed that crime, you willfully knew the consequences, and therefore you plead guilty so that the court can be lenient to you and give you a lesser sentence, or even caution you, or even say you are free to go. It's subject to the nature of the case. When you plead guilty, it means you are remorse.
Yeah.
You have understood what you did was wrong and that it occasioned pain and all damage to the other person who is the complainant, or even to the state that is prosecuting you. When you plead guilty, it means you are cognizant that you don't want to waste the time of every other person involved in this matter, the prosecutor, the investigator, the courts. You are saving the time of the court, but also you are saving resources of the court, and therefore you take charge of your responsibility. So that is the meaning of plea of guilty, and it is at that point when you plead guilty, the court has a responsibility, especially the judicial officer, to take you through all the components of the charge and all the ingredients of the offense, and asks you one by one, did you do it willfully? Did you have the intention? Did you prepare? and then you even reflect on them. That is what we call an unequivocal plea. A plea that has nothing like to say there is coercion, there is force, and etc. The moment in that process you even say, wait a minute, yes I did, but I don't think I knew what I was doing. That is a plea. You change completely, quickly the plea of not guilty. So it's a very cautious thing done. Why? When you put a criminal record on yourself, the laws of Uganda say it can only stay for 10 years.
Wow.
You cannot go and even apply for any public office.
Yeah, true.
A criminal record jeopardizes your opportunities.
Yeah.
It's not just pleading guilty. You have to be mindful.
Even opportunities
of the
to travel
consequences.
some countries.
Sometimes, because when you fill in the visa, they ask you, do you have a criminal record?
Yeah.
And then you say yes, then you will not get your visa. It takes even another process, and here in Uganda we have not yet introduced it. How do you remove a criminal record from someone's life? So that's why I take it with reservation that with such serious charges, with suspects well represented, that they decided to plead guilty. And especially after 4 years. If someone has been in prison for 4 years and is determined to stay there, and you change the plea even before the hearing begins, because they've asked for bail several times. They've asked for bail several times, and the bail has been denied. So in this way, this is what we call it in law, that justice delayed is justice denied. Already their justice was denied because there was need to fast track their cases. So now there is an element that this pleading of guilty is either out of ignorance, that is 1, 2, out of pressure,
coercion
by some, no, menaces. There's no pressure, menaces.
Okay.
We call it, you come, you give me a sweetie here, you tell me like a child, I take this sweet and you get this. And I learned for the sweet, forgetting the implications. So the fact that these people are pleading guilty right now and on the nature of charges, because we don't know the sentence they are going to get. Who knows what sentence? 3, are we sure that the charges as they appear, they did them,
will be dropped?
That is subject to their lawyers, the disclosures they have, and the inside this person who is pleading guilty knows exactly. So it's very, very cautious that in such cases which involve political nature, we call it prisoners of conscience sometimes because of what they belong to. It's very rare that any lawyer that is representing you will tell you go and plead guilty. Because you are more of a prisoner of conscience. It is unusual for this kind of cases. Possession of firearms. Then you should know that you really had that firearm in your house, and knowing exactly what you are going to use it for, to cause death or to do terrorism nature. So you need to be educated about the offense of terrorism in its entirety for you to say, I did it.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes.
Thank you so much, our viewers. I will quickly take you back before I bring in Dr. Jared Wanzara, because some viewers sent their messages here. Let me read them out. Looks like they relate to our previous topic, but let me do that. Thanks for the show. The problem started with creation of KCCA, which was politically motivated. Otherwise, this crisis couldn't have happened if the elected politicians, led by the Lord Mayor, were left with full charge. Kampala is suffering at the expense of politics and Uganda at large. Alex, Luborogota is Singiro district. Oh, that is where I hail from.
Isingiro?
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Alex, for watching and for that comment. Morning, I am Semakula. Those people must face justice. They've just been making money. Kampala is like a slum, border park. Everywhere it's as if we have no planning authority for Kampala. Well, that's your opinion. Semakula, thank you so much for your comment and your contribution. I'll be reading these messages as they come in. You can comment on any of these two issues we are discussing. Looking back at the issue of Chitezi and the new developments, but specifically now we are looking at the decision, actually a serious decision that the NUP supporters have taken at this point in time, pleading guilty to committing terrorism.
Actually, the sentence on conviction is life imprisonment.
Life in prison.
There is no lawyer worth of your salt. We
To
tend to
advise
plead
you.
to a plea of guilty.
To plead guilty and
Unless
possibly.
there has been what we call plea negotiation, what we call plea bargain. And you
Okay.
are very sure of the likely sentence that
Let me hear from Dr. Gerard. You've heard from Dr. Sylvia the serious nature of the cases these people are facing and this hard decision they are taking. What do you pick? Could it be true that there has been a plea bargain behind the doors and possibly which has led to this decision? What do you read? Because the question there is, are we using this time guilty guilty plea? What is it called?
they're going to use plea of guilty
Plea of
because
guilty
they pleaded guilty.
to settle political
If it were-
scores.
Thank you very much, Apollo. The magistrate has discussed the legal aspect, the concepts, and the implications. I'll look at the politics and then
Good.
access to justice. If you look at our history from around 2000 when we passed the Anti-Terrorism Act, you know, at that time we jumped on the American war on terrorism in order to benefit from the funding of fighting terrorism, but also it turned out that a number of political opponents started facing those charges. One of them was Winnie Byanyima, when she was a member of parliament from Barra municipality. She was charged with terrorism, but you know, those offenses are really hard to prove because you must prove there was a gun, that you must bring evidence to show that probably it had fingerprints and it was placed probably in my vicinity, my house.
With your knowledge?
With your knowledge, and probably I used it. So those charges are a little bit complicated. So we saw her being left off the hook. And then when Dr. Kizza Besigye returned from exile, we saw him also charged with others. And at that time they said they had formed the rebel group, so they were charged with the treason and terrorism. And just like this one, their cases were also taken to the court martial. And we also saw a number of times when judges, I remember in particular Katusi, JB Katusi, who is now retired, who had to say, I will not handle this case again because I'm tired of following the law, giving people bail, and they are rearrested and brought back to me on the same or similar charges. So Besigye challenged, you know, being tried in the court martial as a civilian, and that case went up to the Supreme Court. And there was a landmark ruling that it is wrong to try civilians in military courts. So in disregard of that ruling, we have continued now to see not people arrested in DRC, in war, or in Central African Republic, but citizens of Uganda who are involved in the political contestations being brought in military courts. Which to me, I believe we are trying to use the military courts to settle political contestations. Because I want to question, these matters started over 4 years ago. The courts, the military court has had all the opportunity to exhaust all the investigations and bring evidence on the table. To date, they have not brought anything. But these people have been denied bail, which is their constitutional right. They have presented substantive sureties. I am not discussing because they are NUP over that they are Ugandans. And Uganda right now is facing an image problem on human rights. People are being sanctioned every day. It has implications on their families. Very soon you may see chairpersons of the court martial also sanction their children might not be able to study elsewhere because of this. And now, why do I say it is you know, the result of this trial could be politically negotiated. One, not long ago, we saw the Honorable Norbert Mao negotiating with the Omusinga, and then the charges on his people were dropped.
Yeah, Omusinga, on similar charges of terrorism.
Exactly. And what she talked about, a plea and bargain, this is a court process. Okay? If something is in the court, there is a process for plea and bargain. But these are basically political
not
negotiations.
behind doors.
Exactly. These are basically political negotiations, and then you say, so and so has forgiven you. So does the law belong to a certain person or to a certain office? Also, if you look at this, I think it started with the Honorable Balam Barugahara, who was saying, you know, people, you come. It was like a joke. You come, and I can free them and bring them out. What came in my question was that, what's the role of the Honorable Balam in the court processes? We saw some going to State House with what the UPDF has banned as illegal attire of the NUP. But those guys had the audacity to stand with the president in the State House and take photos freely and go. Because I would imagine if this was illegal, then these were suspected criminals wearing, you know, something, UPDF uniform, and therefore they cannot be seen on TV violating the law. Then subsequently, we are seeing a one Kakoza, one of the suspects, who not long ago was shouting. They had told, they had advised them to plead guilty and be forgiven. And then he went shouting before the cameras, saying that, how can you violate my rights? For all these years I've been tortured, and then you tell me I plead guilty. He went making a noise, and actually was accused of trying to jump on the chairperson of the court martial. Now, a very short time later, I see the same Kakoza coming to court wearing a yellow T-shirt of President Museveni, and then saying, I was misled by Bobby Wine, and the whole thing looked a joke to me. For me, this has implications on our country. One, we're going to continue operating with impunity, detaining people without evidence, and then eventually using that as a tool to subdue people's conscience, people's thinking. To me, it has implications on human rights, it has implications on politics, it has implications on the conscience, the freedom of conscience of Ugandans.
Wow. Thank you so much, Doctor. And Richard, after 4 years without trial, or remand, and suddenly the suspects plead guilty. What do you read from all this?
I want to congratulate that gentleman who is commemorating 58 years
Of Omusinga.
of his father and himself being kings. Their kingdom is younger than the Republic of Uganda.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah, sure.
Kingdoms are supposed to be historical,
Historical. I was also wondering.
but this one is younger.
But we have, are they fiefdoms or kingdoms that are here that are 7 years?
So when I
Those are chiefdoms.
We have them.
so when I tell you that I want
Like
to become
Savanyara,
the
I think.
Sabakanga,
Yes.
I've been told you I want to be the Sabakanga. They have increased the salary to 60 million. I'm saying, this thing, I keep getting people to be advised. You know, yeah.
Don't divert us.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, let's get back to
No,
because
you see, why I'm congratulating that gentleman is that of the how many years he has been king, he spent 8 of them, according to him, 7 of them, according to his words, in virtual house arrest. Yeah. So who is terrorizing who? Because you see, for me, why I keep telling people to look at the big picture is when people don't look at the big picture, they don't get the whole, they don't get the whole understanding. When I have a cup of coffee, which I have here, Apollo, and I am drinking it. And for me, it's just some hot water in the flask. And who grew the coffee?
Oh.
Who processed it? Who boiled the water? Did they use charcoal, electricity, gas? You see, and that's Apple what I struggle with. So
you go for details.
I sometimes seem to look abstract. But we are commemorating 58 years. This person, for him, he has been king, I think, for 14 or something. 7 of them, he spent them in what he calls virtual house arrest.
Yeah, he was not allowed to go to his
on charges
kingdom.
of
He was arrested
terrorism.
in Kampala.
Why don't we relate these things? This year, 36 Ugandans were arrested for going for terrorism training in Kenya.
In Kenya.
So you see, my speaking here, you are asking why do I edit? But I can step out here and I am told that my appearance on television was terrorism. You see, when you don't see the seriousness of this plea bargaining, when you don't see the gravity, you tend to think that it is far away from you. You need to get those people and ask them, before they were arrested, they thought that these things was remote from them. It is not remote from any of us here or you who is watching us. It is not. That is how grave it is, Apollo. You see, if a minister goes on air and said, we can release those guys, and goes to prison to speak to those guys, and carries a person wearing the attire, according to what the Borike was describing, wearing the attire for which you arrested those people.
Which violates the military code.
And the person is with the commander-in-chief. Of course, he has the prerogative of mercy. So you can say he saw these people and he forgave them. They came in dressing which they didn't understand. So he just said, leave them. This is how grave the situation we are discussing is for me. And so, when you are this lady, you have a baby, you were arrested, and you keep thinking 1 year you will come out, 2 years you'll come out, 3 years you'll come out, 4 years you'll come out. Don't you think that your situation becomes hopeless?
It does.
So what other vulnerability would Sylvia be representing?
Oh, Sylvia.
Yeah, because she talked about the vulnerable. So what other vulnerability are we looking for? What depth of vulnerability then?
So the suspects are their vulnerability is at the lowest.
Rock bottom.
Rock bottom.
Yeah. So if you are drowning,
their vulnerability could have pushed them.
If you are drowning,
to even accepting,
and you see a crocodile, because it is floating, you don't think maybe I touch this crocodile and float on its back. Maybe. So I don't want us, at least me, I don't want to discuss without pointing to this depth of gravity of this. You see, Sylvia has talked about a life sentence. So imagine you have been 4 years in detention. And in reality, you see you're going to be for life in detention. So any other thing that comes your way looks a better option. That's where we are.
What in just a few words, what now does this predict of the future judicial landscape in this country?
This has distinguished. They are appearing in the court martial.
Yeah, it is a general court martial.
Yes, there is a distinction in terms of how both courts operate.
For me, I thought it was a judicial process.
Yeah, but it is also another
judicial process. But we need also to draw attention, especially from what he said, that civilians, already there is a case, a court case.
There are civilians being
tried.
They
are not supposed to be tried in court martial. So their rights to fair access to justice, speedy, impartiality, there are dynamics there. And not to say that they have not been represented, because Mr. Baguma was talking about what vulnerability. These people are vulnerable and they need to be represented. Actually, they've been represented. And they have lawyers. And several times, for example, lawyers from Uganda Law Society have been part of the team going there. But there is to the extent to which you can push court, and also there is to the extent to which you can push someone to tell them, look here, in as much as you have suffered. For instance, we've been going to prisons recently. And I've noticed that there are people who have gone to plea bargain when they did not commit the offenses.
Really?
Yes. Someone says, I've been here, like what the disparity. I've been here for years. I don't see my case being cause listed. So I went into plea bargaining to discuss possibilities of me getting a fair.
But not on a charge like terrorism.
Yes, but remember also with plea bargaining, you should have committed that offense. You just want your matter to be fast-tracked in getting a more lenient outcome of the sentence. So for me as a lawyer, irrespective of your vulnerability, for as long as you've not committed the offense and you fall under the category of a prisoner of conscience, you shouldn't be bargaining to go and plead guilty. Or going before the courts and say, I am guilty. Because the other judge, you don't know what the judge will decide. Behind the curtains.
We don't know what they were promised.
What I'm saying, if it was a better negotiation, let's assume there is a political negotiation behind curtains, it would have been withdraw charges.
Oh.
Yes, withdraw discharges. But the challenge here we have is the political dispensation, which he mentioned. He says we are using it, probably a tool, you know. But for a prisoner of conscience, you stick to your conscience and you say, I cannot bow down to pressure unless the outcome is more favorable to me. That means the lawyer who is representing you must have explained the consequences of going on court record and say, I am guilty. The consequences.
Actually, for your information, they have even dismissed their lawyers now. That's probably why I think.
So is there fairness?
They may have disagreed.
There is no fair justice. We go to Article, the Constitution, the primary source of human rights. Article 28 of the, where it says everyone, especially if you are going to suffer life imprisonment, where the sentence is life imprisonment and death, mandatory, you have to have a lawyer, either given by the state or privately secured. It is mandatory because it is a serious sentence. The decision you make to say I am pleading guilty or not, the lawyer has to be involved.
Okay.
Your lawyer has. So I think their lawyers, they've been dismissed. And if you can contextualize that, is maybe because the lawyers we are saying no.
Yeah, they disagreed.
We are not
with
party
their
to
lawyers.
this.
I was seeking your
Yeah,
final word on what you think.
I had not concluded, and I must first apologize to Sylvia. Because Sylvia says I said they were not represented.
No, he said they were just vulnerable. I think
If I implied that I was saying they were not represented, I apologize for that. Sylvia, I am not talking about lawyering. No. For me, I'm not talking about lawyering. I don't have that competence. Let me repeat these words, which are not my words. I am quoting. The Constitution is a mere piece of paper. These are not my words. I'm quoting. So you see, so for me, I am not talking about lawyering. I am saying that when I am this woman from the slum, I have been in this prison for 4 years. I was taken when my baby had just been born. Somebody is telling me, you just say these things and you get out. It is unlikely that I will listen to what this lawyer is telling me, that please stay.
By your word.
I will say, omanyi, mbadde wano ekimala, kangende, oba nfanfe, because ne wano wendi, I am speaking Uganda, even where I am dead anyway. That is the rock bottom.
That is the vulnerability you're talking about.
That I am talking about. Yes, and you need to see these people in that context.
Thank you. I am Semakula. We understand that these people first went through negotiations before they accepted And the NUP principal never wanted negotiations with government. So in Uganda, everything is possible. Even Besigye was charged, and he's a free man. So the president can pardon them. So let people learn lessons from politicians who sacrifice people for their own benefits. That is Semakula's opinion, and we appreciate that opinion. Actually, you'll speak about it. There are other people whom I have heard Balaam mention who have benefited from such negotiations. You talked about Domusinga, but Minister Balaam also says Bobi Wine also benefited from that arrangement when he was arrested in Arua, allegedly with weapons. So,
Apollo, can we draw a distinction of the point I'm trying to make?
Please do.
Because if you don't draw the distinction, then people will not appreciate. I am not in any way denying that people are vulnerable behind bars and that they should negotiate their way out and that they will get a release. But all those people you are mentioning, Besigye, Bobi Wine, Omusinga, none of them are on record with a plea of guilty.
Oh, they are not on record.
The consequences of pleading guilty, that I'm guilty, I did it. And you go on record.
And these are on record.
Yes.
That is true.
That is what I'm trying to say.
That's
but I have no problem where they negotiate their exit and their freedom, and then they come to court and say, there are no evidence, so the charges are withdrawn. Between me and you and your government, you know exactly what you are negotiating, but at least there's something that is off my record.
I get you.
Yes.
Thanks, moderator. Terrorism in Uganda is like a civil case, especially if political opponents, with political opponents to the NRM regime, or if political opponents to the NRM are involved. Look at the likes of Colonel Besigye, Bobi Wine and others. NUP supporters pleading guilty is just politics, and they will be set free even when the case was terrorism that attracts this life imprisonment. The judicial system is also compromised. He is, again, Alex from Ruborogota, Isingiro district. I think you can agree, and that possibly at this level, where they have the vulnerability Baguma talks about, possibly they have had guarantees that they will be released. And
but the implication of the going on record is the biggest problem.
Exactly.
Because if you look at the Musinga and the supporters, they were, I think with their lawyers, they were so serious enough that they preferred to go through the Amnesty Commission, so that they received amnesty, okay? And when you receive amnesty, you have missed that that pleading of guilty
on
to
record.
Be on record. But these ones are now on record as criminals.
Oh, okay. Another message here.
After all we know, some of the people who have been on record as criminals come and become
MOPs.
Not just, they come and become leaders.
Okay. let me read this one again. He says, hello, sir. A prayer bargain drama happening at the General Court Martial. That is part of the latest brand and face of NRM and majority of his like minds. But they are like Israel that assassinates one Hamas commander, and they think they have broken up the hearts and file of the fighters. In reality, more anger is stirred, and even those who didn't intend to fight join the struggle. Let them wait to see 2026 elections. They will be pushed harder. No COVID, no hide in now. No but in Kabale. Thank you so much, Norbert.
Very serious.
And he calls it drama. I don't know if you take these things.
Of course it's
Very,
like
very
drama.
serious.
Yeah,
Definitely.
he calls this, or what is happening at the GCM, as drama, and that is serious. That is why I was asking Baguma to possibly predict the judicial landscape of this country. In 5 or 10 years.
No, but you see, if indeed, and it's a big if, the Constitution is just a mere piece of paper, then why are you telling me to predict?
Mr. Apple on the panel, you have to appreciate that the cause you are talking about is nothing but politics. So, My blame is to the NUP leaders. They knew this was a political battle, but chose to prioritize bickering rather than focus on their people in prison. To me, the credit goes to NRM people who continued concentrating on this since it was politics but not a criminal case. Thank you for the educative show, the dialogue. I'm Abel Keru. Thank you. Thank you, Abel. Actually, you'll talk about people, a section of Ugandans are actually appreciating Balam for mediating when the NUP leaders at Kamocha are still stuck their guns. They wanted these people to remain in prison. I don't know how.
It's a misrepresentation to say that the people wanted these people to stay in prison.
No, they wanted
That's
them
a
to stick to their previous position.
That's what Sylvia is saying. Sylvia is telling you that for you to say I am guilty is to say I have accepted to stay in prison for life. That's what you are saying. That's what you are saying.
But that's what I said. And you said
that is the sentence.
And you said that
the other one,
I misrepresented.
No,
the
other one says, please don't accept that because you have a chance. I keep asking, and I was asking somebody else in private, very senior lawyer. I said, tell me how many people have been convicted of terrorism in this country since 2010. It's 2010 when the law was done. I don't remember.
Around 2000, actually.
I said, tell me how many. So, what are the chances that even this group will have no conviction at all? So you see, Apollo, that for me, for you to say that really this was illegal, that it is strictly a legal process, is for me is to look at it in this is beyond legal, really.
Good morning, Salt. My question is this: treason is a capital offense. Is mere pleading guilty? Give somebody guarantee to being free. In my opinion, we respect the rule of law. I think he is Mwalimu Peter in Mityana. Mwalimu Peter in Mityana is asking if pleading guilty would guarantee freedom. And you talked about it.
The negotiation behind, we don't know, may guarantee the freedom, indeed. Because they may come back to court for sentencing, and they say they are cautioned, and they are set free. If there is behind negotiation. But in scenarios where it is not political, and it is purely procedural and it's legal, there is no guarantee that they will get cost-free. The judge may say this is a serious offense. You had possession of arms, you planned to do. Please stay behind the doors, so because you are dangerous people. Stay behind there for a number of years.
They are staking their lives on an individual, I hope, now, if it is.
I think the discussion, like we've said, that this is a political question. Moreover, even the court where they are appearing,
to conclude on
not
this,
conventional court, mainstream court, but in the mainstream court.
Dr. Sylvia, listen to this. Yes. To conclude this, Mr. Apple, I'm worried that Dr. Sylvia is giving brilliant input, but to a wrong country. Dr. Sylvia, listen. Dr. Sylvia, we are in Uganda, not any other country. He's Abira Kampumuza, and he seems
so
to
then
agree,
we in Uganda where
he seems to agree with what Baguma submitted, that the superstructure.
When you are not in it,
the superstructure.
When you are observing from the side, you can easily say, it's the best way, let them get out. But the reason why we talk about rule of law is entitled to safeguard human rights of every individual, irrespective of their social, economic, and political aspirations. So, if you are safeguarding rights and you want a liberty of someone, does it come with a cost of saying I did this, for example, if it is not true you did it, just because you want to get out? So it is because for us we are here on the side and we want people out of the prisons, but we also have to make sure that when they get out, their life will continue. And they will
If
have
you were their lawyer,
encumbrances.
if you were their lawyer, what advice would we
she would
give
have been
them?
dismissed
Eh.
if she was their lawyer. This advice she's giving, she was like those ones who were dismissed. She wouldn't still remain.
But from your submission, it's like you wouldn't have
If I were
advised
their
them.
lawyer, I would negotiate
guilty.
differently.
Eh.
There is no going there to plead guilty. The negotiation would be different.
Thanks for the show. Thanks for the show. Listen to this, gentlemen and the lady. Thanks for the show. In Uganda, we have reached an extent of just sitting and watching because our government does what pleases them and keeps them in power. Unfortunately, you did not send your name, so I don't know who actually sent that powerful message. Good morning, Chief. Political issues are solved politically, not legally. NUP.
Then let's get out of court.
Wait a minute. NUP had to swallow humble pie.
Mr. Apollo, then let's get out of court and go political. Why are we taking people with charges and make them appear before court, and people now are saying they should not be solved legally, but they should be solved politically? If you come to court,
the court is one of the political tools.
The viewer,
the court is one of the political tools.
so
it is being solved politically using one of the tools.
No, the viewer is in support of an arrangement possibly where the NUP leaders in Kamocha would have engaged government officials on how to release them.
But what is engagement?
Instead,
what does engagement mean? I don't understand. You see, unless we, in some of us are thinking, the court martial is the political tool. So it's one of the tools in the arsenal.
In your opinion?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
So this is being solved politically through another one of the tools, which is called court martial.
As blunt as always.
Otherwise, if we are talking about the formal courts and the conventional courts, then we mean to say, come to court, what do you expect? Independence, impartiality, among others.
We are running out of time, but this is possibly one of the last messages I'm reading. Good morning, Chief. Political issues are solved politically, not legally. NUP had to swallow a humble pie and negotiate a way out for these people, for their people. Now Balaam is going to shine, hence NRM winning. People should always listen to their lawyers and do not make emotional decisions, because these guys could end up dying in prison due to the way they have said it on record. Thank you so much, our viewers. Unfortunately, our time is fast spent. Dr. Wanzala, make your final shot on this show. I don't know what you can pick from this particular issue, and we conclude, because my concern is on the judicial landscape of this country, where the trajectory we are taking.
Yeah, the rule of law is steadily deteriorating, and it's going to further deteriorate. We're going to see the court martial becoming more active in politics because what one sender said, the message sender said, you saw 2020 we had COVID trying to control, the processions and so forth. Probably COVID will not be there next year, and therefore the contestations are going to be more severe. And we have those in the government establishment who treat the sitting government as if it's their mom's breast. That if you appeared just to oppose, then you want to destroy something that belongs to
in the interest of time. So, Richard, your final comment?
You cannot suckle on your mom's breast when it is cancerous. You have to treat it.
Jesus.
Absolutely. So you can. Absolutely. So you have to deal with your mom's breast when it's in its best health. So I think it is suicidal to try and save your mom's breast even when it is very cancerous.
Thank you. Doctor, your final comment here.
Let us deal with the root causes that impede justice. Let us follow the processes as required, because for me I assume that if there was due process, and all this would not be rising. But we hope that we shall get better as we move on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our viewers, and we will keep engaging and looking at these issues. Possibly we'll have another time to come and expound more on these and other issues. My name is Prince Apollo. I thank you so much for being a great audience. I thank the panel. Dr. Sylvia, it's a pleasure having you today.
Thank you so much.
Richard, good to have you today.
Yes, we must go out of here with hope. It's a very hopeful situation.
Doctor, thank you so much.
Thank you too.
To the production crew and everyone, good afternoon, God bless you, and God bless Uganda.